Hey, good morning, everybody. We'll start with an opening comment from head coach Blake Anderson, and then you guys are free to ask questions.
Hey, folks. Really just kind of reiterate the comments made after the game. Just super proud of the guys. Winning's hard, and go on the road and win in the fashion in which we did is even more difficult. As beat up as we are up front on the O-line and as many guys I think are still growing up, it just says a lot about this group, how hard they played, how they stuck together even when things were not going great. Didn't panic late when it became an overtime game. We haven't been in an overtime game since I've been here. I think, if I'm not mistaken, my last overtime game as a head coach was in Arkansas against Utah State back in 2014. So, we've prepared for a lot but haven't had to play in many. And I thought our guys handled themselves really, really well. Nobody panicked. Everybody was ready for the situation. We made plays we need to on both sides of the ball to get a win. And it was a critical win. We all know that we're fighting to stay in the race and stay bowl eligible and all the things that come with the end of the season. And I was really proud of how the guys responded. And huge win, big win. Hopefully it carries momentum into this week. This one's just as big. Every time you win, the next one's even bigger. And so we need to improve and play even better this week here at home against Nevada. So what questions do you have?
Coach Jason Walker at Cash for the Daily. How do you try and carry that momentum from the last game into this one and keep going strong and keep going for your guys' goals?
Well, this will probably make you laugh, but I grew up in the country, and I've talked to the guys about the fact that when you take a horse away from the barn, he normally moves pretty slow, and you got to kick him pretty hard. When he turns and starts heading towards the barn, he typically gets faster. Talked about our guys getting faster down the stretch and understanding we're getting very close to the end of the season for our senior class and just, emptying the tank, man, giving everything you got. And this win, I think in the way that we won, just naturally uplifted everybody in the locker room. You could tell on the plane coming home. Everybody was really down about the loss to San Jose, how poorly we played, did not play the way we expect, and really the energy levels were low. So the open week came at a good time. We're aware we're getting close to the end, and we know there's a lot to fight for. So I think all those things with this particular group play into really expectations of playing extremely hard and continuing to improve. And it's one of the things I like most about this group. They've never quit working. They've continued to be coachable. Guys have continued to improve. I think Cooper Lagasse is a great example of that, of how he played maybe one of his best games since he's been here this Saturday night, and that's what we need from every position.
Coach Andrew Hyde, KSL.com. I just wanted to ask about Elliot Nimrod. He was not with the team that last Saturday, so I was just curious if you could explain a little bit of what happened and when we can expect to see him again.
Violated team rules, was suspended for a game. He's got some other disciplinary actions to take care of over the course of the next couple weeks. He's back with the team today. Haven't made a final decision on whether or not he'll play this next week, but it is possible that he'll kick with us as long as he's doing all the other things he needs to do and taking care of all the other off the field, demands that are on him. So I'll say this: he was very open, and with the mistake he made, he didn't blame anybody else. He took ownership for it. Never been in trouble before in any way, shape, or form. And so we'll be thoughtful. Diana and I have talked about it thoroughly and both kind of on the same page moving forward. We'll make a decision later in the week as to whether he'll be available, but he has done everything we've asked him to do to this point.
And then just a quick follow-up question with that. Could you just make a comment on how Testa and Marks have both filled in their various backup roles as kickers, especially in that last game?
Well, Will wasn't really ready to go. I thought he kind of battled through. He's still coming off injury, and I know he'd love to have a kick back. And obviously, I think Ryan's punted extremely well. I thought the nature of the pressure maybe hit him there late with the bobbled snap, but I think to be thrown in, not expecting to play at this point in the season, he's done really, really well. And I think Will coming in really probably 90%, maybe even less physically, to give us an opportunity and do what he needed to do. You got to give both those guys a pat on the back for just being ready.
Hey, Coach, Patrick Mayhorn with the Ag Ship. I want to ask about Logan Peely, who's been on the field a lot these last couple games. What have you been seeing from him that has earned him that playing time?
Yeah, just consistent growth. We were excited to recruit him when he left BYU and had recruited him out of high school. Felt like that he had, really the tools to fit with what we do defensively. And truthfully, week by week, he just improved. Got here late, had to learn a lot in a short period of time. And so I think what you're seeing now is just the nature of a guy growing up over the course of the season. I don't really, I'm not in there with those guys every day, but he did know, I noticed him several times throughout the course of the game at the point of attack, being physical. And I know Coach Zuck and Coach Joe have both said good things about him here in the last few weeks.
Which I guess I'll ask the inevitable, is it Laga? Is it Hillstead at quarterback? What are you thinking now?
This will be Coop's offense to run throughout the remainder of the season, assuming that we don't have any injuries and that he just continues to do what he's done over the last few weeks, just grow up and continue to mature. I thought he played his best game. I know the numbers weren't huge. We weren't extremely explosive. Part of that was because we were very conservative early in the game, trying to handle their front a little bit, but we opened things up a little as the game progressed. I thought he did a phenomenal job of moving out of the pocket when he needed to, using his legs. I thought he checked the ball down this game and utilized his check downs. It's something we've struggled to do earlier in the season. He threw the ball away in a couple of very critical situations where in past it forced the ball, and I think he's just grown up a lot. The big plays he's made, we've always loved. It's been the mistakes that we've been trying to kind of fight through, and you got to give him a ton of credit of just how he's continued to work. I said this in the post game, said it in front of the team, said it on the radio. Could not be more proud of a guy that was put in a situation that was difficult and really handled it perfectly. He's gotten better. He's grown up. He's earned every respect that he deserves from the team and from the fans and from me as well. And I'm going to give him every opportunity to finish up as the starter and just continue to grow and play even better than he has. So, McKay's going to be out for a week or two, I would think, with the ankle. Levi will be our number 2. And my expectation is Coopy's just going to continue to get better.
That was going to be my next question if McKay was ready. Let me ask you one specific guy that I didn't notice in the game at all who's made plays for you lately, Blaine Spires. Was he injured in the game or was he out again?
He was injured in practice last week. We had a very physical practice on Tuesday, and we always talk about trying to balance how physical you can be and potential injury. And he got really was in concussion protocol after Tuesday's practice. He was not ready to play. He is back with us, should be ready to go this week. We missed him desperately in that game, but that's the nature of trying to continue to build a program. We're still far from being able to just go through practice without collisions, and he came out of Tuesday with a concussion, and so we had to honor concussion protocol and really wasn't going to be ready till Sunday or Monday at the earliest.
Coach Anderson, Jason Turner from the Herald Journal. It was a big weekend for local Aggies. Whitney Lopez being named the Mountain West tournament MVP in soccer, and then obviously Ike being the Defensive Player of the Week. How important is? I don't know if important's the right word, but how fun is it to have a kid who's from the Valley, who's one of the leaders of this team and is kind of one of the faces of the program?
I think it's important and it's fun. I love when guys choose to stay home. I could have gone a lot of places and chose to be here. He loves this place and has given a ton to it and just continues to get better and better. And I think we're just seeing a glimpse of how good he really can be. He still makes mistakes at times, but he owns them and comes back from them. One of the, two of the biggest plays in the game came after maybe the biggest mistake he made in the game. And he didn't blame anybody. He just took ownership and went right back out and made 2 game-changing plays. I think that's what I love about him the most. It's just very resilient, bought in, and proud of being an Aggie. So we'd love to continue to do that. He's not the only guy from the Valley, but we want to make sure that guys don't leave the Valley. And I don't know, we kind of feel like, not just here in the Cache Valley, but here in the local area all the way into Salt Lake, love to keep guys at home and have them play here for us. And I think they're seeing in him what is possible. super proud of the soccer team as well. We reached out to them as a unit. Just think Manny's done a phenomenal job. Extremely proud for what those ladies and his staff have accomplished.
Coach Patrick Mayhorn again. I want to follow up on Cooper a little bit. The confidence of the offense when he's on the field, it's noticeable.
It's
what does
noticeable
that?
to you? It's noticeable to you.
Okay,
I've heard that said. I've heard that said.
It's
I think-
noticeable to me.
Yes. Well, let's make sure we put that in perspective.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. What I want to ask is, I want to ask about what you can learn about a quarterback from the way that guys on a team respond to him when they're on the field.
Yeah, I think some guys just have the it factor, and that's one thing we've always known about Coop is, man, he's a great leader. And that's why it was difficult to make the change earlier. We knew we were going to be throwing a freshman out that that wasn't quite there yet. Didn't want to make the change in the first place, despite what a lot of people, and Jay, you may be one of those people, really don't understand. I just knew we had to control the forced turnovers. And when Coop takes care of the forced throws and throws it away and checks it down, he's as good as anybody. But we're not good enough as a team to overcome those. The juggle between, do we continue to put a freshman out or we put a guy that's a seasoned veteran out that just for whatever reason is having too many unforced errors. I mean, that's been difficult since day one. And we can look back and I don't know, maybe we should have made some changes along the way. I'm just proud of how he's responded. I do think his personality and the fact that he's played a bunch of snaps, I do think it brings a presence to the field that McKay doesn't have yet. But I also thought McKay did a really good job when he came in at Air Force and when he played against JMU. He didn't go out there and act like a freshman. So it's been a little bit of a juggle. I think most of our problems is just we've struggled up front. We're beat up. We're young and inexperienced. We've played against some really good fronts and some very active fronts. And when we've been able to cover guys up, we've been successful. When we haven't, it's been a grind. And we're going to have to just continue to grow up front, continue to get guys healthy, continue to develop up front. The better they play, the better anybody, whether it be Coop, McKay, or anybody, is going to play. I think that's the biggest issue we know we have. We know it in the building. Our guys know the challenge. Our players know the challenge, and we're just going to continue to coach the mess out of them, continue to get guys healthy, grow them up, develop up front, because the better we are on both fronts, offense and defensive line, the better the football team is going to be. And so I say that I'm not dinging Coop. I just don't want to point fingers at anybody. We just have to develop collectively, if that makes sense. So hopefully don't take my comments the wrong way, but I mean, don't point blame where it's not due, and understand this is a bigger picture than which quarterback plays. This is a collective conversation on offense, and the better we get up front, the better we're going to play offensively. End of story.
Coach, Trent Wood with Deseret News. I wanted to follow up on the development of players. Obviously, this team is young. One area where you've seemingly always been able to develop players, and it's a credit to Kyle Cephalo as a wide receiver. It's happened this year, the year before that, at Arkansas State before. I'm curious what it is about him as a coach that has led you to have so many dynamic receivers.
I think he and I are definitely on the same page of what we want, what we're looking for. I feel like we've been able to find value in places that other people haven't. If you go back and look, we've been together for 10 years, and we're not going to get to go out and pick the 5-star, 4-star guy. We have to find traits, develop traits within the system. I think he has a unique knack for, number one, building relationships with our guys. They absolutely love playing for him. He communicates extremely well what we want. He's got a balance of holding them accountable, but also those guys absolutely knowing that he cares about them. They love our system, and we give them a ton of freedom. And I think he and I are at a point where we can finish each other's sentences. And so there's a lot of dialogue that happens very quickly. And I think as we start watching guys, those traits that we know we both need, we're able to identify and take a guy that's only caught a handful of balls and is a backup at Georgia Military and now turn him into a guy like Jalen Royals, a guy like Micah Davis, who really was underutilized, I think, at the junior college he came from. And now you're starting to see him. Terrell Vaughn was a really solid player, but very under-recruited. We've seen that from from all the way back to the Kurt Merritts, Jay Adams, and Omar Baylesses of our time at Arkansas State. I think all those things make him a really, really good coach, identifying what we need, communicating really well, coaching his kids to be accountable, and teaching them, also knowing those guys, absolutely knowing that he would, he'd fall on the sword and loves them. And it makes it a lot of fun. And we've enjoyed doing it, and hopefully we can continue to do that. I love the room. Young guys that y'all haven't seen yet that I think are going to be really, really good players are starting to develop, and we're only going to get better from where we're at now.
Coach, I want to ask a similar question about Ethan Morris and the job that he's done in his first year as a full-time, on-field assistant with those safeties. Obviously, a younger room, losing Hunter, losing Gervin, and just the job that he has done with bringing Devin along, bringing Ike along. What can you say about the progress that he has made in his first year with this new role?
Yeah, I think a lot of the same things we just talked about with Kyle. Builds great relationships. Those guys know he cares about them. He's a very good communicator, high energy. Both those guys are super high energy, bouncing around, bring energy to practice, bring energy to meetings. I think he's got a phenomenal mind for football, has gotten a lot of opportunity as a young coach to have responsibility. So he's kind of built his philosophy and kind of his knows who he is in his skin. I think you got to give credit to the guys in the room, both at wideout and at safety, at just how coachable they are, how much energy and effort they bring to practice every day. You're getting a ton of buy-in from both of those groups into their coaches and into our systems. It shows in the offseason. It shows in how they prepare. And then it shows up on game day. So I've been pleased with both and both young coaches. I don't know. Ethan's a lot younger than Cephalo, but in my mind, they're both young guys that have dynamic futures ahead of them.
Hey, Coach Eric Francis, 106.9 The Fan.
Okay.
And just looking at Nevada, this is a team that's also had some quarterbacks going back and forth. They made a quarterback substitution late in the first half last week. But if it is Brandon Lewis, I mean, that's another mobile quarterback who also leads the team in rushing. What do you see out of the quarterback situation in Nevada?
Yeah, well, they're committed to running the ball first. And so adding good legs and a guy that can be dynamic, it just spreads your defense a little bit more thin. We've seen that throughout the year. We don't know exactly who to expect. I know Joe is going to prepare equally for both, but we know we've got to stop the run. I mean, it starts there. They're going to get in the pistol and bring the run game at you and create throws off of that. If you're not solid and sound against the run and having a body for the quarterback, then really, they're going to have you off balance all day. I think it's always difficult to have to prepare for two, but Joe and the staff will do a good job of that. And coming off one of their best games, to play as physical as they did against San Diego State, and to understand that Maiden absolutely could run 400 something yards already this season. They did a great job, especially when we were struggling early to kind of get things on track offensively up front. So hopefully we can build on that and play even better this week.
Coach Anderson, Jason Turner from the Herald Journal. It seems like Nevada's made some strides defensively. I mean, they really played some tough offenses earlier in the USC, Kansas, Fresno State, UNLV. They've done better defensively. What strides have you seen from that unit, and what's kind of their identity defensively?
Well, I think they cover extremely well. They're able to add bodies to the box and play man coverage. And of the guys we've seen in the back end, their DBs, I think, play as good or better than anybody we've seen in conference play in quite a while. They're just really, really comfortable in man coverage. They don't panic, and they're able to be there at the point of attack and make plays and defend the ball. And it allows them to put extra guys in the box, and it just makes it really difficult to run the ball effectively. They've done a phenomenal job, I think, getting better and better and better defensively all year. And we're going to have some of the same issues we've had the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of movement up front, a lot of exchanges and gap exchanges up front. We're going to have to cover those things up much better. And then we're going to have to win outside in one-on-one situations because you're clearly going to get some one-on-one press coverage, guys up in your face, physical corner and secondary play. It's going to be a big factor in the game, whether or not we can be explosive or not.
Hey, Al again, Coach. Speaking of their defense, some of your guys know James Hansen, who's playing for them on the defensive line, and then Al Lapawahu, coached with you one. Can you talk about those two guys?
Well, love both those dudes to death. Al was phenomenal to have on staff, and I thought James did a great job. I think James was just looking for more playing time. He was kind of in a backup role here and felt like that he could get more playing time. Al was looking to get his own room. He was kind of in a partnership here. And I supported both those guys staying or leaving when they did. Love them to death. Still talk to Al from time to time and stay in touch with him and his family. Guys got to do what they feel is important and needed for them. And I think both of them made moves that they felt like were the right ones for them. And so we wish them the best. We just don't wish them the best on Saturday. I think Kaleo Neves, we've seen him on tape as well. He's a former player of ours and seen him on tape. And I know he's getting some playing time. He was the same. Felt like with the new change defensively, he wasn't going to see the field very much. And he's found a role there. So I'm glad all three of those guys have found a place where they're getting to do what they wanted to do.
Well, overall, then, how do you see the matchup in this game? I mean, they have kind of struggled offensively. Their defense, like I think Jason's right to point out, they looked a little bit better. But offensively, they have kind of struggled in trying to figure out what they can get done.
Well, I think focus on what we can do. Focus on us. Still making mistakes that we can't afford to make and having to overcome them. I think that's where it starts. Focus on us. Throw the records out the door. We feel like we're a better team than our record indicates. We have to give them the respect that they are as well. We've seen them hold people to no points in a 60-minute game. I don't care who you play. That's hard to do, so their defense can stop people. And offensively, they've been streaky and really effective at times, and just assume they're going to play their best game against us. So come in and expect the very best that Nevada has to offer and know you're going to have to battle your tail off to win. We've got a lot to play for here at the end. We can't let one slip because we're not focused or we don't play our best. We need to play our best ball. We've gotten better, we've improved, but clearly I think there's better football out there for us to play, and there'd be no better time than to do it at 1:00 on Saturday.
Andrew Hyde again. I was just curious, if I'm not mistaken, Cooper Lagasse still has another year of eligibility left. I was curious if you had that conversation with him, talk to him about that at all.
No, I mean, I'm gonna sit down with him when the season's over. I'd love to have him back. I don't know what he's gonna do. I know it's been a lot of adversity for him to go through, and it wasn't intended, but it's where we've been, and I think he's handled it great. He's continued to grow up and improve, and as I've said in the beginning, man, I love the kid. I love the way he works. I love his attitude. I'd love to see him come back for another year, but that's going to be between him and his family, and I'm sure they're as frustrated as they can be with me. They should. That's their son, and they want him out on the field, and hopefully I think when everybody looks back at this, they see that intentions were in the right place, trying to get the right things out of our team and in Coop. And again, I can't say enough about how he's handled it. I am beyond proud and been coaching him every day, and he's been phenomenal in my meeting room. So we'll deal with what happens after the season when it happens, and I know he and his family will pray and spend a lot of time thinking about what they want to do.